The Valari medical ship floated in the darkness of space like a wounded bird. Its engines were dead. Its shields were failing. And somewhere in the black void behind them, the Kron raiders were coming. Captain Lyris pressed her three-fingered hand against the cold metal wall of her bridge. Her blue skin had turned pale with fear. Around her, her crew of 47 worked in silence. They were scientists and doctors, not warriors. They had no weapons strong enough to fight the Kron. They had no engines fast enough to run. How long? Lyris asked. Her voice was quiet. Her navigator, a young male named Tovin, looked at his screen. His large eyes were wet with tears he was trying to hide. The Kron will reach us in 6 hours, Captain. Maybe 7 if we are lucky. Lucky. Lyris almost laughed at the word. There was no luck in this part of space. They had come here to help a small colony that was suffering from a disease. They had saved thousands of lives, and now they would die for it. The Kron were pirates. They were killers. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they did not need. A medical ship like this one was worth nothing to them. The Kron would board them, take anything valuable, and then blow the ship apart. That was their way. We should send a distress signal, said Mira, the communications officer. She was the oldest member of the crew, and her voice was calm even now. Someone might hear us. Who would hear us? Tovin asked. We are in the outer territories. No one patrols here. No one cares about this sector. Lyris knew he was right. The Galactic Council had abandoned these outer regions long ago. The big empires did not care about small colonies and medical ships. They had their own problems, their own wars, their own politics. But still, Mira was right too. They had to try. Send the signal, Lyris ordered. Send it on all frequencies. Send it to everyone. Mira nodded and turned to her console. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. The distress signal went out into the void. It carried their location, their situation, and their plea for help. It traveled through space at the speed of light, reaching out to anyone who might be listening. And someone was listening. Far away, on the edge of known space, the signal reached a planet that most species in the galaxy tried very hard to forget. It was a world of fire and ice, of storms and earthquakes, of predators and poison. The Galactic Council had classified it as a Class 12 death world. They had given it a simple name in their records, Earth. The beings who lived on Earth were called humans. They were strange creatures. They were soft and weak compared to many species. They had no claws, no armor, no venom, but they had survived their death world for millions of years. They had learned to fight. They had learned to never give up. They had learned to be dangerous. Most species in the galaxy avoided humans. They were too unpredictable, too violent, too stubborn. When the Galactic Council had first made contact with humanity, they had expected to find simple primitives. Instead, they had found warriors. The distress signal from the Valari ship reached Earth Defense Command at exactly 3:47 inches the morning, local time. A tired officer named Jackson saw it flash on his screen. He read the message twice to make sure he understood it. Then, he made a call. Sir, Jackson said into his communicator. We have a situation. A medical ship is under attack in Sector 7. Kron raiders. 47 crew members. Mostly civilians. There was silence on the other end. Then a voice spoke. It was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. Sector 7 is outside our patrol zone. The Council will not like it if we interfere. I know, sir. But they are asking for help. They have no weapons. No way to escape. The Kron will kill them all. More silence. Jackson waited. He knew what his commander was thinking. Earth had treaties with the Galactic Council. They had agreements about where human ships could go and what they could do. Sector 7 was supposed to be neutral space. Human military ships were not supposed to operate there, but humans had never been very good at following rules. Send the Avalon, the commander said finally. Jackson felt his blood go cold. Sir, are you sure? The Avalon? You heard me. Send the Avalon. Full speed. No restrictions. Yes, sir. Jackson ended the call. His hands were shaking as he typed the orders. He had heard stories about the Avalon. Everyone had. It was not just a ship. It was a legend. A nightmare. It was the most lethal vessel humanity had ever built, and now it was about to wake up. In a hidden dock on the dark side of Earth's moon, lights began to turn on. Machines that had been sleeping for months started to hum. Crews ran to their stations. Pilots strapped themselves into their seats, and deep in the heart of the ship, a man opened his eyes. His name was Commander Eric Cole. He was 53 years old. He had gray hair and cold blue eyes and scars on his face from battles that most people did not even know had happened. He had killed more enemies than he could count. He had saved more lives than he could remember. He was a soldier, a weapon, a monster, some said, but he was also a protector. Cole read the distress signal on his personal screen. He saw the fear in the words. He saw the hope. He saw 47 innocent people waiting to die. "Start the engines," he said. His voice was calm. "Set course for Sector 7. Maximum speed." Around him, the Avalon began to wake. It was a ship built for war. It was covered in armor that could stop plasma fire. It carried weapons that could crack planets. It had engines that could outrun light itself. And it had a crew of 200 humans who had trained their entire lives for moments like this. The Avalon left its dock like a shadow leaving the darkness. It moved through space with a speed that no other ship could match. It was heading for Sector 7. It was heading for a fight, and the Kron had no idea what was coming. Back on the medical ship, Captain Lyris stared at her screen. The Kron were getting closer. 4 hours now. Maybe less. She had given up hope. She had accepted that this was the end. Then Mira spoke. "Captain," she said. Her voice was strange, confused. "We have received a response to our distress signal." Lyris looked up. "From who? The Council?" "No." Mira's large eyes were wide. "From Earth. From the humans." The bridge went silent. Everyone knew about humans. Everyone feared them. They were the monsters of the galaxy, the Deathworlders, the species that refused to die. "What did they say?" Lyris asked. Mira read the message out loud. Her voice was shaking. "Hold your position. Help is coming. Do not lose hope." Signed, Commander Eric Cole, ESV Avalon. Lyris did not know what the Avalon was. She did not know who Commander Cole was. But for the first time in hours, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. The Avalon cut through space like a knife through water. Its engines burned with a blue fire that left a trail of light behind it. Inside the ship, 200 crew members prepared for battle. Commander Eric Cole stood on the bridge. He watched the stars blur past the windows. His face showed no emotion, but his mind was working fast. He was calculating distances, timing, probabilities. He was planning a battle that had not yet begun. "Report," he said. Lieutenant Sarah Chen looked up from her console. She was young, only 28 years old, but she was one of the best tactical officers in the fleet. "We will reach Sector 7 in 3 hours, sir. The Kron are approximately 90 minutes behind the medical ship, so we have 90 minutes to spare." "Yes, sir. If everything goes well." Cole almost smiled. Things never went well. That was why he was good at his job. He planned for everything to go wrong. "What do we know about the Kron force?" he asked. Chen pulled up the data on the main screen. 5 ships, sir. 3 Raider class, 2 Destroyer class, standard Kron weapons, plasma cannons and missile systems. Nothing we cannot handle. And the medical ship? Valari design. No weapons. Shields at 40% and falling. Engines completely dead. They are sitting targets. Cole nodded. He had seen this before. The weak and the innocent, trapped and waiting to die. The galaxy was full of such stories. But Cole had dedicated his life to changing those stories. He had dedicated his life to being the one who arrived in time. Behind him, the door opened. A large man walked onto the bridge. His name was Marcus Torres. He was the head of the Avalon's Marine unit. He was 2 meters tall and built like a wall. His dark skin was covered in tattoos that told the story of every battle he had survived. "My people are ready," Torres said. "If you need us to board the Kron ships, we will." "I hope that will not be necessary," Cole replied. "But prepare for it anyway." "Always do, Commander." Torres left to join his soldiers. Cole watched him go. The Marines on the Avalon were the best humanity had. They had trained in the harshest conditions Earth could offer. They had fought in wars across a dozen worlds. They were not just soldiers. They were weapons made of flesh and bone. The Avalon itself was even more dangerous. It had been built in secret, using technology that the Galactic Council did not know humans possessed. Its armor was made from a metal called adamantite, which was found only in the deepest mines of Earth. Its weapons could fire beams of energy that could cut through any shield. Its engines used a type of fuel that most species thought was impossible to contain. The Galactic Council had rules about what kind of ships each species could build. Humans had ignored those rules. They had learned a long time ago that rules made by others usually did not help them. They had learned that the only way to survive was to be stronger than everyone else, and the Avalon was the proof of that strength. Far away, in the void of Sector 7, the Kron fleet was getting closer to its prey. The lead ship was called the Bloodclaw. It was commanded by a Kron warlord named Vex. He was old and cruel and had killed more beings than he could count. He sat in his command chair and watched the medical ship grow larger on his screen. "Such easy prey," Vex growled. His voice was like thunder. His face was covered in scars and his eyes glowed red in the darkness of his bridge. A Valari medical ship. They carry medicine, medical equipment, maybe even patients, all of it worth credits on the black market. "And the crew?" asked one of his officers. "Kill them all. We have no use for Valari slaves. They are too weak, too soft. They die too easily." The officer nodded. "As you command, Warlord." Vex leaned back in his chair. He loved moments like this. The hunt was almost over. Soon he would have his prize. Soon he would add another victory to his long list of conquests. He did not notice the small signal on his scanner. It was far away, at the edge of his detection range. It was moving fast. Too fast. Faster than any ship he had ever seen. One of his officers noticed it. "Warlord," the officer said, "there is something on our sensors. A ship, coming from the direction of the inner territories." Vex frowned. "What kind of ship?" "Unknown, Warlord. The signature does not match anything in our database. But it is large. Very large. And it is heading directly for us." Vex felt a small chill run down his spine. He had been raiding ships for over 40 years. He had learned to trust his instincts. And right now, his instincts were telling him something was wrong. "Can you identify it?" he demanded. The officer worked at his console. His face went pale as the data came in. "Warlord, I think it is human." The bridge went silent. Every Kron on the ship knew about humans. They had heard the stories, the legends, the warnings that older raiders passed down to younger ones. Never attack a human ship. Never threaten a human colony. Never, under any circumstances, make humans angry. Vex had never believed those stories. He thought they were exaggerations, tales told by cowards who did not have the courage to fight. But now, looking at the impossible speed of the approaching ship, he began to wonder if the stories were true. "It is just one ship," Vex said. He tried to sound confident. "We have 5. We outnumber them. We will destroy them and take the medical ship as planned." His officers said nothing. They did not look convinced. On the medical ship, Captain Lyris watched her sensors with growing amazement. The human ship was coming. It was really coming. And it was moving faster than anything she had ever seen. "How is that possible?" Tovin asked. "No engine can go that fast. The Council says it is impossible." "The Council says many things," Mira replied. "Perhaps they do not know everything about humans." Lyris said nothing. She was thinking about the message she had received. Do not lose hope. Simple words. But they carried a weight that she could feel in her bones. Whoever Commander Cole was, he believed those words. He believed he could save them. And somehow, against all logic, Lyris believed him too. The hours passed slowly. The Kron fleet got closer. The Avalon got closer too. And then, finally, the moment came. The Avalon dropped out of faster-than-light speed directly between the Kron fleet and the medical ship. It appeared out of nowhere like a ghost becoming solid. Its black armor reflected no light. Its weapons were already powered and ready to fire. On the bridge, Commander Cole looked at the Kron ships on his screen. They were smaller than the Avalon, weaker, less advanced. They were predators who had never met a bigger predator. Until now. "Open a channel to the Kron fleet," Cole ordered. "Channel open, sir," Chen replied. Cole spoke. His voice was calm and cold. "This is Commander Eric Cole of the Earth space vessel Avalon. You are threatening a civilian ship under my protection. You will leave this sector immediately or you will be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to decide." The message went out across space. The Kron heard it. The Valari heard it. And everyone who heard it knew that Cole was not bluffing. On the Bloodclaw, Warlord Vex stared at the massive human ship on his screen. It was twice the size of his largest destroyer. Its weapons were pointed directly at his fleet. He had 60 seconds. He had to choose. And for the first time in 40 years, Vex realized that he might have made a terrible mistake. 40 seconds passed. Warlord Vex stood on his bridge and stared at the human ship. The Avalon hung in space like a dark cloud waiting to release a storm. Its weapons glowed with a faint blue light. Its engines hummed with power that Vex could almost feel through the walls of his own ship. His officers were looking at him. They were waiting for orders. They were waiting for him to tell them what to do. But for the first time in his long life, Vex did not know. "Warlord," one of his officers said, "we should leave. The humans are not joking. Everyone knows what they can do." "Silence," Vex growled, but his voice was not as strong as before. "We are Kron. We do not run from anyone. We are the terror of the outer territories. We are the ones who make others afraid." "But sir," I said. "Silence." 20 seconds left. Vex looked at his fleet on the tactical screen. 5 ships. Over 1,000 Kron warriors. They had conquered worlds. They had destroyed armies. They had taken everything they wanted from everyone who was too weak to stop them. But something was different now. Something felt wrong. The human ship was not moving. It was not trying to escape. It was not showing any fear at all. It was just waiting, like a predator that knew its prey had nowhere to go. 10 seconds left. Vex made his decision. Pride was important. Honor was important. But staying alive was more important than both. "All ships," he ordered through gritted teeth. "Prepare to withdraw." His officers exhaled with relief. They began entering commands into their consoles. The Kron fleet started to turn away from the medical ship, but Vex was too slow. One of his younger captains, a fool named Drax who commanded the raider ship called the Ironjaw, had already made his own decision. Drax was young and hungry and stupid. He wanted glory. He wanted to prove himself to the older warriors. He wanted to show that he was not afraid of humans. Before Vex could stop him, Drax fired. The Ironjaw launched a volley of plasma missiles at the Avalon. They streaked through space like angry red stars, heading straight for the human ship. On the Avalon's bridge, alarms began to sound. Lieutenant Chen's voice was calm as she reported the incoming fire. "Missile launch detected, Commander." "Impact in 12 seconds. Commander Cole did not move. He did not flinch. He simply said one word: "Intercept." The Avalon's defense systems came alive. Beams of blue light shot out from the ship's hull. Each beam found a missile. Each beam destroyed it. The missiles exploded in empty space, far from the Avalon's armor. They did not even leave a scratch. Then Cole spoke again. "Destroy the ship that fired." "Yes, sir," Chen replied. The Avalon's main cannon powered up. It was a weapon that the Galactic Council did not know existed. It used a technology that human scientists had developed in secret. They called it the Hammer of God. It fired a beam of pure energy that could cut through any shield, any armor, any protection that had ever been invented. The hammer fired. A line of white light crossed the distance between the Avalon and the Ironjaw in less than a second. It hit the Kron Raider directly in the center of its hull. The Raider did not explode. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there. The next moment it was gone. Vaporized. Erased from reality. The rest of the Kron fleet watched in horror. They had never seen anything like it. They had never imagined that such a weapon could exist. On the Bloodclaw, Vex felt his blood freeze. Captain Drax was dead. His crew was dead. His ship was dead. And it had happened in less than a heartbeat. "All ships," Vex said. His voice was barely a whisper. "Full retreat, maximum speed, now." The Kron fleet ran. They turned away from the Avalon and pushed their engines as hard as they could. They did not care about the medical ship anymore. They did not care about the credits, or the medicine, or the glory. They only cared about survival. But Commander Cole was not finished. "Pursue them," he ordered. "Disable their engines. I want them alive." The Avalon moved. It chased the fleeing Kron with a speed that should have been impossible. It caught up to them in minutes. And then, with surgical precision, it fired at each ship. The shots did not kill. They were targeted at engines and weapon systems. One by one, the Kron ships lost power. They drifted in space, helpless and broken. Their shields were down. Their weapons were offline. They were completely at the mercy of the humans. On the Bloodclaw, Vex watched his tactical screen go dark. His ship was crippled. His fleet was crippled. He had lost everything in less than 5 minutes. A communication came through. It was Commander Cole. "Warlord Vex," Cole said. His voice was calm, almost polite. "This is your only warning. Leave this sector. Never return. If I ever see your ships near innocent civilians again, I will not disable your engines. I will do to your entire fleet what I did to the Ironjaw. Do you understand?" Vex wanted to curse. He wanted to scream threats and promises of revenge. But he looked at the burning remains of the Ironjaw floating in space, and he knew better. "I understand," he said. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. "Good. Your engines will reboot in 1 hour. Use that hour to think about your choices." Cole out. The communication ended. The Avalon turned away from the Krone and moved toward the medical ship. Its mission was not over yet. On the Valari medical ship, Captain Lyris and her crew had watched everything. They had seen the Krone fire at the human ship. They had seen the human ship erase a raider from existence. They had seen the entire Krone fleet disabled in minutes. They were terrified. They were amazed. They did not know what to feel. "Captain," Mira said softly. "The human ship is approaching us." Lyris nodded. She tried to stay calm. She tried to remember that these humans had come to save them. But it was hard. She had just watched them destroy a ship with a single shot. She had just watched them cripple a fleet without breaking a sweat. What kind of beings could do such things? A new communication came through. A human face appeared on the screen. It was Commander Cole. His eyes were cold, but his voice was gentle. "Captain Lyris," he said. "I am Commander Eric Cole of the Earth space vessel Avalon. Are you and your crew safe?" Lyris forced herself to speak. "Yes, Commander. We are safe. Thanks to you." Cole nodded. "We are sending a repair team to fix your engines. We will also station a patrol in this sector until you can leave safely. The Krone will not bother you again." "Why?" The word came out before Lyris could stop it. "Why did you come? Why did you help us? We are strangers. We are not even from the same part of the galaxy. You had no reason to risk your ship for us." Cole was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "Because you asked," he said. "Because you needed help. And because that is what humans do. We protect the innocent. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. It does not matter who they are or where they come from. If someone calls for help, we answer." Lyris felt tears forming in her eyes. She had spent her whole life believing that the galaxy was a cold and cruel place. She had believed that no one cared about anyone else. She had believed that kindness was a weakness. But here was a human. A Deathworlder. A being from a planet of monsters. And he was showing her that everything she believed was wrong. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you, Commander Cole." Cole almost smiled. "You are welcome, Captain. Now let us fix your ship and get you home." The repair shuttle from the Avalon docked with the Valari medical ship 30 minutes later. Captain Lyris stood at the airlock with some of her crew. They watched nervously as the door opened. The first human to step through was a woman with dark hair tied back in a knot. She wore a gray uniform with the symbol of Earth on her shoulder. She carried a toolbox in one hand and a tablet in the other. Her face was friendly. "Hi there," she said. "I am Chief Engineer Anna Kowalski. My team is here to fix your engines. Where should we start?" Lyris was surprised. She had expected soldiers, warriors, killers. Instead, she was looking at a woman with grease on her fingers and a smile on her face. "This way," Lyris said. She led the human engineers into the ship. More humans followed. There were 12 of them in total. Some were men, some were women. Some were tall, some were short. All of them were focused on their work. They moved through the Valari ship without fear or hesitation. They studied the damaged engines. They talked to each other in quick, efficient sentences. They started making repairs. Lyris watched them work. She was still trying to understand what she was seeing. These were Deathworlders. These were the beings that every species in the galaxy feared. But they were helping. They were kind. They were treating her crew with respect. "You seem confused," said a voice beside her. Lyris turned. One of the human engineers was standing next to her. He was young, maybe 25 years old by human standards. He had brown skin and bright eyes that seemed to notice everything. "I am sorry," Lyris said. "I do not mean to stare. It is just, I have heard so many stories about humans. Terrible stories. Stories about violence and war and destruction. I expected something different." The young man nodded. I understand. My name is David, by the way. David Chen. Anna is my aunt. Your aunt? She is your family? Yes. Humans often work with their families. We think it makes us stronger. Lyris considered this. Among her people, family was everything. Perhaps humans were not so different after all. The stories you have heard, David said. They are probably true. Humans can be very dangerous. We have fought many wars. We have done terrible things. But that is only part of who we are. What is the other part? David smiled. The other part is why we are here. Helping you. Fixing your ship. Making sure you get home safe. Humans fight hard, but we also love hard. We protect the things we care about, and when we see someone in trouble, we want to help. Even strangers, especially strangers, because strangers can become friends, and friends can become family. That is how we see the universe, not as a collection of different species, but as one big family that has not met each other yet. Lyris felt something warm growing in her chest. She had never heard anyone talk like this before. In her experience, most species only cared about themselves. Most species saw others as competitors or threats, but these humans saw something else. They saw potential. They saw connection. Your engines should be working in a few hours, David said. But if you want, you can come visit the Avalon. Commander Cole would like to speak with you in person. Lyris hesitated. The Avalon was the most powerful warship she had ever seen. Going inside, it felt like walking into the den of a predator. But she remembered Cole's words. She remembered how he had saved her crew. She remembered that he had asked for nothing in return. I would like that, she said. 1 hour later, Lyris took a shuttle to the Avalon. She brought Mira with her for support. They docked in the main hangar and stepped out into a world they had never imagined. The Avalon was massive. The hangar alone was bigger than their entire medical ship. Dozens of smaller craft were parked in neat rows. Hundreds of humans moved around, doing their work. Some were loading supplies. Some were repairing machines. Some were simply talking and laughing with each other. It did not look like a warship. It looked like a city. An officer met them at the hangar door. He was tall and serious, with dark skin and a shaved head. Captain Lyris? I am Lieutenant Torres. Commander Cole is waiting for you. Please follow me. Torres led them through the ship. They walked down long corridors filled with activity. They passed training rooms where humans practiced fighting. They passed laboratories where scientists studied strange materials. They passed a large room where humans sat together eating food and telling stories. What is that place? Lyris asked, pointing at the eating room. The mess hall, Torres said. It is where we eat and relax. Would you like to see it? May I? Torres nodded. He took them inside. The smell of food filled the air. Lyris did not recognize most of it, but it smelled good. Humans sat at long tables, eating and talking. Some of them looked up as the Valari entered. They smiled. Some even waved. They are not afraid of us, Mira whispered. Why would they be? Torres asked. You are guests. You are welcome here. Lyris did not know what to say. She had spent her whole life being careful around other species. She had learned to hide her weaknesses. She had learned to never trust too quickly, but these humans did not seem to care about any of that. They treated her like she belonged. Finally, Torres led them to the bridge. The doors opened, and Lyris saw Commander Cole for the first time in person. He was sitting in a large chair at the center of the room. He looked older than she had expected, tired. His gray hair was cut short, and his face was lined with scars and years of hard living. But his eyes were sharp. They missed nothing. Captain Lyris, Cole said. He stood up and walked toward her. He held out his hand. Lyris knew this gesture. It was a human greeting. She took his hand carefully and shook it. Thank you for coming, Cole said. Please, sit down. We have much to discuss. They sat in chairs near the main window. Outside, the stars shone bright and cold. The medical ship was visible in the distance, surrounded by human repair shuttles. I wanted to thank you personally, Lyris said. You saved my crew. You risked your ship for us. I do not know how to repay such kindness. Cole shook his head. You do not need to repay anything. We did what was right. That is its own reward. But why? Why do you care about us? We are nothing to you. We are from a different part of the galaxy. We have no trade agreements, no treaties, no connection at all. Cole was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was thoughtful. "There is a saying among my people," he said. "No man is an island." It means that we are all connected. What happens to one person affects everyone. When you called for help, we heard you. And when we heard you, we could not ignore you. Because ignoring you would mean ignoring a part of ourselves. Lyris listened. She was beginning to understand something. Humans were not just warriors. They were not just killers. They were something more complex. Something deeper. They were survivors. They came from a world that tried to kill them every day. They had faced predators and disasters and wars. They had lost loved ones. They had suffered pain, but instead of becoming hard and cold, they had become protective. They had learned that the only way to survive was to help each other, and now, they were extending that protection to everyone else. "The Galactic Council thinks we are dangerous," Cole said. "They are right. We are very dangerous. But we are dangerous to those who hurt the innocent. We are dangerous to bullies and tyrants and murderers. To people like you, Captain, we are not dangerous at all. To people like you, we are protectors." Lyris felt tears in her eyes again. She had spent her life healing others. She had dedicated herself to helping the sick and the wounded, but she had never felt truly safe. She had always known that there were creatures in the universe who would hurt her without a second thought. Now, for the first time, she felt like someone was watching over her. Someone strong. Someone who would never let harm come to the innocent. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for being what you are." Cole smiled. It was a rare thing, that smile. But it was real. "Thank you for calling us," he said. "Thank you for giving us the chance to help." The repairs took 12 hours. When they were finished, the Volari medical ship's engines hummed with new life. Chief Engineer Kowalski had not just fixed what was broken. She had improved everything. The engines were now faster. The shields were stronger. The life support systems were more efficient. "Consider it a gift," Kowalski said when Lyris tried to thank her. "You go out there and save lives. The least we can do is make sure your ship can get you where you need to go." Lyris did not know what to say. In her experience, nothing came for free. Everyone wanted something in return. But these humans kept surprising her. Before leaving the Avalon, Lyris met with Commander Cole one last time. They stood in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The Kron fleet was gone. They had fled as soon as their engines rebooted. Just as Cole had predicted, they would not return to this sector for a very long time. "What happens now?" Lyris asked. "You go home," Cole said. "You continue your work. You heal the sick and help the wounded. And if you ever need us again, you call. And you will come? Always." Lyris turned to face him. "Commander, I have to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Of course, are humans truly as dangerous as the stories say? Are you really the monsters that everyone fears?" End quote. Cole did not answer right away. He looked out at the stars, and for a moment, Lyris saw something in his eyes. Sadness, pain, the weight of memories that no one else could understand. "Yes," he said finally. "We are exactly as dangerous as the stories say. Maybe more. Humans have done terrible things in our history. We have fought wars that killed millions. We have created weapons that could destroy planets. We have hurt each other in ways that should not be possible." Lyris felt a chill run through her. But Cole was not finished. "But that is not all we are," he continued. "We have also built hospitals that heal the sick. We have created music that makes people cry with joy. We have written stories that inspire hope. We have loved each other so deeply that we were willing to die for each other. We are not just monsters, Captain. We are also dreamers, and builders, and protectors." He turned to look at her. His eyes were intense. "Every species has the capacity for good and evil. The question is which one you choose. We humans choose to be protectors. We choose to use our strength to help others. We are dangerous, yes, but we point that danger at those who deserve it. We point it at the bullies and the tyrants and the killers, never at the innocent, never at those who need our help." Lyris understood now. She had been afraid of humans because she only saw one side of them. The violent side, the dangerous side. But there was another side. A softer side. A side that cared deeply about others. Humans were not monsters. They were guardians. Fierce and terrible when they needed to be. Gentle and kind when they chose to be. I wish more species were like you, Lyra said quietly. Maybe they can be, Cole replied. Maybe that is what the galaxy needs. Not more warriors. Not more weapons. More beings who are willing to stand up for others. More beings who refuse to look away when someone needs help. You do that already, Captain. Every time you heal a patient, every time you save a life, you are being exactly what the universe needs. Lyris felt pride swelling in her chest. She had always believed that her work was important, but hearing it from a human, from one of the legendary Deathworlders, made it feel even more meaningful. Thank you, she said. For everything. Cole held out his hand again. She took it. Safe travels, Captain. May your journey be peaceful. 2 hours later, the Valari medical ship left Sector 7. Its engines were running smoothly. Its crew was healthy and safe. Behind them, the Avalon watched until they were gone. When the medical ship was finally out of sight, Lieutenant Chen approached Commander Cole on the bridge. Sir, we have orders to return to Earth. The Council is asking questions about our presence in Sector 7. Cole nodded. He had expected this. The Galactic Council did not like humans operating outside their designated zones. They would complain. They would demand explanations. They would threaten consequences. But Cole did not care. Let them ask, he said. Let them threaten. We did the right thing. That is all that matters. Yes, sir, I agree. Cole sat down in his command chair. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a medical ship full of innocent people was heading home. They would continue their work. They would save more lives. And they would do it knowing that someone was watching over them. That was why humans fought. That was why the Avalon existed. Not for glory, not for power, not for conquest, but for moments like this. Moments when the strong protected the weak. Moments when hope defeated fear. Set course for Earth, Cole ordered. Standard speed. Let us go home. The Avalon turned and began its journey back to the solar system. Behind it, the darkness of Sector 7 faded into the distance. Far away, on the Valari homeworld, news of the rescue spread quickly. The story was shared across communication networks. It was discussed in government meetings. It was told in homes and schools and hospitals. A human ship had saved a Valari medical crew. A human commander had faced down the Kron and won. Humans had asked for nothing in return. For most Valari, it was hard to believe. They had been taught to fear humans. They had been told that Deathworlders were unpredictable and violent. But this story did not match those teachings. Captain Lyris gave interviews. She described Commander Cole. She described the kindness of the human engineers. She described the warmth and welcome she felt on the Avalon. They saved us, she said. They came when no one else would. They risked their lives for strangers. I do not know what the galaxy has been told about humans, but I know what I saw. I saw heroes. The story continued to spread. It reached other worlds, other species. Some did not believe it. Some thought it was propaganda, but others listened. Others wondered if maybe, just maybe, humans were not what they seemed. On Earth, Commander Cole returned to his normal duties. He did not think of himself as a hero. He was just a soldier doing his job. But somewhere in the back of his mind, he hoped that what happened in Sector 7 would matter. He hoped that the galaxy would learn something. Not about human power, not about human weapons, but about human hearts. About the way humans refused to ignore suffering. About the way they stood up for others, even when it was dangerous. The universe was vast and cold and often cruel, but it did not have to stay that way. Every act of kindness made it a little warmer. Every rescue made it a little safer. Every moment of hope made it a little brighter. And as long as there were humans willing to answer distress calls, willing to protect the innocent, willing to be the guardians that the galaxy needed, there would always be hope. The Avalon continued its journey through the stars. Its crew prepared for their next mission. They did not know what challenges waited for them. They did not know what dangers they would face. But they knew one thing for certain. If someone called for help, they would answer. Always. That was what it meant to be human. That was what it meant to be a protector. And that was what it meant to be the crew of the most lethal vessel in the galaxy, using its power not for destruction, but for salvation. The stars shone bright in the darkness. And somewhere out there, a medical ship was heading home. Safe, protected, hopeful, because humans had answered the call.